Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org, and in this tutorial for the new Boston I'm going to be talking about string length and why it's useful and how we can do it. Now, as you know, we can create a variable with a string type which will automatically be created with us. So let's do that now. I'm going to create string, and then I'm going to call this or set this to the value of Alex. So we've got 4 characters in here. Now what we might want to do is we might want to find out how many characters are in this string. So we can go ahead and we can create a new variable, and I'm going to call this string length, and that is going to be equal to we need to call a function now to be able to grab the length of this string. So I'm going to say strlen, so short for string length, and then inside here we're going to take one parameter or one argument, and this is going to be the variable of the string that we want to count. So we want to count the specific amount of characters inside a string here. So I could in fact just supply this with an amount of characters. So I could say how many characters does this have? Okay, so now what we can do is down here we can echo out string underscore length. Now let's just preview that in our browser and see what happens. So you can see we've been returned with the result 35. Now that in fact means that there are 35 characters in this string, obviously not including the single quotation marks on the outside. So let's just test this out, something we can monitor. Let's just type the character A. Now let's come and refresh, and you can see that says 1. So let's look at how we can probably calculate a predefined string. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the variable name in there, and that will transfer this data here into here. So now we should have the result 4. Okay, so we've determined how to count a string length and then how to output the string length, but why would we want to do this? Now, there are a few different reasons why we would use this strlen function. Now the first main reason would be obviously to count the amount of characters, but we might want to loop through, using loops in PHP, loop through each character. And the way we do this is we either use, I would personally use a for loop, but you could use a while loop, a do while loop, or a for loop. So let's say we were using a for loop to loop through. Now maybe I won't show you the example in this case because you may not have looked at for loops yet. However, to loop through a certain amount of characters, we would need to first loop through the first character, then the second character, then the third character, and then the last character. Now, how would we know when to end this loop? How would we know when we'd reach the end of a certain amount of characters? Well, the answer is absolutely simple. We would start at 1 and we would end at the string length, because in actual fact that if we were looping, we'd loop once, twice, 3 times and 4 times, and we'd end to loop through each character of this. Now let me just actually start up an example, because this is going to allow you to see it a lot better. So I'm going to say for, and I'm going to create a variable with the value 1. So if you haven't looked at for loops yet, go and have a look at that and you'll understand what's going on here. So for x equals 1, we're going to say while x is smaller than or equal to something. Now something here is going to be the length of the string, and after this we need to say x plus plus. We're incrementing each time. So the string length here needs to be determined. So now what we can just do is put string length straight into there. Now what happens when we echo our x? Let's just keep an eye on what happens. We can append a break to this as well. So let's go and refresh. You can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4. That's because we're already echoing that out there, so we can get rid of that. Okay, so we're echoing 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you can see that already we're counting through and we're only looping 4 times, because we've determined that the string length is there. So this example might not particularly make sense to you now, but later on when you need to loop through a string or well, yeah, a string, if you want to loop through a string, you'd find this useful because you can determine a string length and then set a boundary for how many times you want to loop specifically.